Welcome once again to another cannot miss, truly cannot miss, Saturday Morning Live with Sal Santori, your host to bring you the most from coast to coast. Hey, I kind of like that. Um, Sometimes I surprise myself, but today's going to be a great show. We have a wonderful guest returning from Baja California, and his life experiences alone have given him quite an education in dealing with PTSD, stress, trauma, everything that goes with it. And he's also taken it upon himself to become educated in this and more. His name is John Seeley, MA. And before we bring John on, what I'd like to do is just mention our sponsors and the folks that help make this possible. And we have Pat Garrett at the Pat Garrett Amphitheater. Pat is a great friend, mentor, and longtime uh, public servant working in the country music industry and doing a lot to promote not just music, but also people. Pat is one of those guys who's launched several careers and has asked nothing in return. So every chance I get, I want to mention, Pat and thank him for everything he does for not just myself, but for a lot of folks. We have Arby's in Pine Grove, who is really great as far as doing things like supporting the community, supporting veterans, things along that nature. And they do a lot of open house type events where they have events right there on the parking lot at Arby's. We just did a beautiful car show, and it was amazing, amazing. We had room on the lot for 50 cars, and we ended up having like 71 for the show. And a sad win there is that we had some folks, a lot of folks actually, turn around on the business across the street because there was just no way to get into Arby's at all to bring a car for the show or even to park and come in and dine. So we kind of exceeded capacity there, which is, like I'm saying, it's a little bit of a sad note because they didn't get to participate and really enjoy. But it's so beautiful to know that it was that powerful and had that much of a great reach. We also want to thank Pharaoh's Car Club of Lebanon. These guys are fantastic. It's a national car club, um, possibly global, and they work with us to promote efforts for reducing veteran suicide is one of the big topics that we work together on. And they're just a super supportive, great group of guys and ladies, car enthusiasts, and have some absolutely beautiful cars. And they come out. They actually hosted the car show last Saturday, which was so amazingly, incredibly good and exciting. And the beauty of it is they did this within like a 3 week period from the time that I reached out and said, "Hey guys, is this possible?" And they said, "We kind of think so. Let's take a look." And son of a gun, in 3 weeks, we had a beyond capacity car show going on. So we definitely want to thank you guys and everyone who came out to the car show and enjoyed yourself and made it all possible and made it happen. And we are broadcasting. I can't forget to tell you where we're even broadcasting from, right? This is our brand new studio right here at Veterans Cafe in the Veterans Row, right inside the Lebanon Farmers Market in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. So we're right here broadcasting from our new studio in Veterans Row. Next week we'll have some film. Yeah, film. Yeah, I'm not old, right? We still do film. Thank God it's not 35 millimeter. Oh wait, that's almost giving away my age here. So I got to put a caveat in here and say I read about 35 millimeters somewhere. I don't know anything about it. Okay, true lie, true lie. It's my lie, and I can stick to it. Hey, but what I want to do is shoot some video because this is a beautiful studio, and what we're also doing is we are bringing a show onto our platform, and it's going to be the chef. A lot of folks are already aware of the chef. It's a nice page on Facebook, and the whole purpose of the chef is celebrity fundraising events, and we will be doing a show, a weekly show. We're going to add like I said, to our platform. And upstairs here in the farmers market is a beautiful commercial type kitchen setup, which is perfect to highlight some recipes, some food, and we're going to be doing all that strictly on a donation basis, a charity to support veteran suicide reduction. So be ready and look out for news on the chef coming right onto your laptop phone. And if you're really good and you can cast it, will be on your TV. So, without further ado, I want to bring on our very special guest, my great friend from a long time, Mr. John Seeley. And John is fantastic. There we are. Hey, John, how are you, brother?
Good. I'm good today. I'm good to see you.
Hey, you too. You too. I hope I didn't kind of like put people to sleep with that long introduction, but we just have so much great, exciting stuff going on. I got to share it. How are you,
No,
John?
you have to do it. There's a lot of good efforts going on. They got to be recognized.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad to have you and be able to work with you and learn from you and share it with our viewers and listeners. You have a wealth of, as I said, not just experience, but also education to really be able to interpret and kind of yeah. I don't have PTSD too bad, right? Compartmentalize some of the information and your experience. John, you come from a let me bring this back up, my friend. And what I wanted to kind of highlight your bio, and in my infinite wisdom, I've got like 30 things in with it. How about if I just invite you to tell us about yourself? I think that'd be great.
Sure. Um, my background was actually more sales and marketing, but my story really began 40 years ago when um, my best friend committed suicide and I found him. And that was the first time I ended up having PTSD, undiagnosed at the time, not treated at the time. It took me 10 years to work through it. And then I I found that there's actually teaching that can help people to heal and to let go of the emotional wounds that we achieve through sometimes just basic living. And unfortunately, in the meantime of the 40 years, 12 of my friends have committed suicide. So I
12, John? I'm sorry, 12.
yeah. So I've unfortunately became very well schooled in what to do about it. And I actually wrote an article for a national publication that the editor first said, write an article about 5 things you can do if your friend is feeling suicidal. So I wrote that. And then they called me back the next day. This is good, but we changed our mind. We want it to be 5 things to do if you're feeling suicidal. I said, okay, that's different. Wrote another article, sent it in. They go, this is great. We'll use it. Well, it takes 4 months to publish from when you submit. And during that time, my niece committed suicide. So I wrote a third article that was what to do if you're left behind. And so I've combined all 3 together. The article is called Hope. And now I've included that in my most recent book, which is called Second Chances, transforming oh my, now I've got the PTSD, which I actually do. Transforming trauma to triumph. Um, and because I actually did, I nearly died almost 3 years ago. And I literally woke up from a coma in a hospital with no memory of being in a hospital or the week before I went to the hospital or any of that. And I literally made a phone call, and the first words out of my mouth were, help, I've been kidnapped, call the police, because that's all I could figure. And anyway, so I wrote that book, Second Chances, during my healing. So I was going through PTSD and I was writing it. So I was writing what the feelings were at the time. So part of the benefit of someone having that book is if you have PTSD, you won't feel alone. The other part is a lot of people don't have the words to put, what they're feeling down. I did. And so they can then have other people read it, and then they can have an understanding. The people around them have a better understanding of what the other person is going through. And then again, I did put the Hope article in the back of the book, so because I want that information to get out. So anyway, long and short, I've read literally thousands of self-help books. I took workshops from a lot of the authors. I ended up working with a number of the authors. I went back and got my master's degree in psychology. I've been studying this ever since, and I continue to study it. And my goal right now is to help people. Particularly, we're doing a book drive for veterans and first responders, and we're soliciting corporate donations that will pay for these books, so they'll be given free to the veterans and the first responders, because we really see that as a way of helping the healing to go on. So it's a number of my books. So one of them is I have one here. One of them is called "Keep on Believing." It's probably backwards on the screen, but anyway, stories of inspiration, courage, and triumph. It's kind of like a chicken soup for the soul kind of book. Get Unstuck Now, which is another book that I wrote to help people that I don't explain why it works. I just do this and you'll feel better. And that's what that book's about. And there's a one for kids. So it's for people of all ages can get this benefit, because I wrote that because I thought if I only had that information when I was a child, my life would be different. So, because we all get trauma from different things.
Would it be fair to say, John, that you went through what you went through as a child to be able to write that to benefit other children, other young folks?
Yeah, I mean, there's another thing that I'm studying right now in depth, and I'll be writing a new book on it. It'll come out next year. It's on CPTSD, which is childhood PTSD. It's also known as complex PTSD, but mainly it happens in childhood. And I think probably 4 out of 5 people have it, and it's undiagnosed. And it can spawn all sorts of other illnesses, including bipolar and narcissism and all these other things. So it's really the core issue that needs to be dealt with. And once people know that that's been going on, then they can deal with it and things can get better.
You know, that's so powerful, John, because when I first got home from stateside, or got home from overseas, I was living my PTSD, not understanding it, not even caring, just living it, doing it. And finally, when I started to get treatment, to start to figure it out and start to understand it, and now that I'm continuing that. That's a never-ending process. You know, like you said, you're always reading, studying, learning. You know, it's ongoing, but coming through at some point and being able to start helping others, and the awareness that I've gotten is like you're talking about the childhood PTSD and how it causes other illnesses, and it's so true, because I see things that now I recognize this is because of.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, it's like it's an awareness that we really need to. I'd like to help. Make get well known so people can understand it and get that public awareness out there. It's incredible.
Yeah, there's a big need for it. It's not just veterans, but certainly
Right.
veterans. And the reason I included first responders is because they're witness to a lot of trauma. You know, the police, the firemen, the paramedics, people in the hospitals, doctors, nurses. I mean, I experienced so much of it from being one of the patients, but and I also have people that I know that are first responders, and so I know what they go through. And I think it's such an important thing to do to help to reduce our stress that we can accumulate from years of being exposed to various things. And we're in a very, let's say, stressful time in life right now. And so if you add that together and then you have untreated childhood PTSD, it can really bubble up and cause a lot of other problems. So unless people know that's what you really need to deal with, it doesn't get dealt with. And then you just have a lot of adult problems that don't go away.
I discovered something just recently. Um, Military, us military folks were trained to do a certain thing. We're expected to do a certain thing, and we expect, for the most part, to see those results. even though there's a lot that goes way beyond that we see and experience, which damages as well. But I'm saying that because, thank you. I'm saying that because the civilian world is not trained. They're not prepared. At least that's my opinion. Their job training is not what I'm talking about. Their witnessing and experience exposure is what I'm referring to here, and I think they're the civilian folks, the first responders, are so ill prepared emotionally to deal with what they're seeing, and like you're saying, they're seeing some horrendous things on a civilian level. Uh, when they respond to accidents, to tragedies, to
Yeah,
whatever, they're seeing some incredible stuff. And like you're saying, compound that on top of some childhood trauma, some childhood PTSD, and you've got a real serious issue there. Um, and I have to agree. I don't think there's enough awareness, of that to say, hey, wait a second. This is also a huge segment of population and a huge identifiable situation and process where maybe we can intervene there as well.
exactly. The problem is we can have relational problems, whether it's a romantic relationship or business relationship, whatever. We can have a lot of misunderstandings because we get triggered by things that it's subconscious. We just know we get upset, and
Right. Okay.
they said this, and I felt that, and and what they don't realize is, again, the underlying issue is these old wounds that have never been dealt with, and we're not taught these skills as kids. That's why 40 years ago, if my friend would have come to me and said, I'm feeling suicidal, I would have went, wow, bummer. I didn't have any skills. I didn't know.
Right.
In fact, after I was in the PTSD mode, the message I got was suck it up. Like, I was walking around depressed and everything, and like, well, too bad.
Welcome to the real world.
Yeah, life goes on. Let's go. Suck it up. And like, no, you have to learn the skills, which is why I wrote these books, because I've studied literally for all the past 40 years, and I still study. And I know very few people that have ever done the kind of research that I've done to uncover what you can do. And my whole twist on the whole thing has been, I wanted to simplify what you need to do so that you can get it done, as opposed to, you don't need to understand all the theory behind why this works and do that. Just do these things, and then your life can get better. And so that's my whole goal, is I take whatever is a complex situation and I try to reduce it to a basic understanding of, here, if you want to feel better, do this, and here's another thing to do, and here's and so that's when I do workshops and speeches. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm oftentimes I work with the audience and I talk to them about what we can do, and I ask someone to volunteer, and we actually work through a problem with them, and so I can demonstrate what you can do for different situations that are very practical for people. Because what happens is, if your regular normal life is really uncomfortable for you because you don't have skills, that's going to create more stress, and then you get to the point of too much stress, and then you go, I don't need this.
Right. Yeah. So very true. I'm listening to you and I'm like examining my life and finding points where it's like so congruent with what you're saying, and my own, every show, I never mind sharing my own personal experience, but growing up, I endured my cross, my gift of trauma and things that were given to me, and had absolutely nowhere to go with it. And the odd thing that I finally started becoming aware of once I grew up and was out of that house and on my own for quite a while. The I had I had the belief this whole time that was normal. You know what? And it's like it wasn't until I started becoming a majority that I'm thinking, a lot of that was wrong. A lot of that was not healthy, not good. And I think part of the awareness is to let people know, hey, it's not okay what you're going through. You're not supposed to say, gee, this is normal. This is what I deserve. This is my lot. Um, to be able to let folks know, hey, there is a different way.
Yeah, I grew up the same way where you think that everybody's going through the same thing and that's the way it is. No, it's not. And sometimes you discover I've moved far away from where I grew up, and I learned a lot of new things. And what I realized is from the perspective, when you can look back, you can see, oh, no wonder, of course, because you're seeing the bigger picture. And what people don't realize is that um, a lot of the programming you get, 80% of the programming in your subconscious mind, which is what runs you most of the time, was done by the time you're 8 years old, and another 15% by the time you're 18. So you've got 5% left for the rest of your life that you can use. Now, the good part is if you want to, you can use that 5% to transform the other 95%. But if you don't pay attention, your subconscious mind is running you. So whatever you learned as a child and a teen, that's what you got. That's what's going to run for you. So I think what you have to do is understand that if you want to change your life, you have to understand that there's things going on.
Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know you froze. You're back. Uh-oh, you seem to have frozen again. Well, if it's recording, I can still tell you until you get back. The idea is be aware that your subconscious mind is what runs you a lot of time. The reason you can drive and you can talk on the phone and you can do this and that is because your subconscious mind is busy doing the driving. It knows how to do that. It knows how to breathe. It knows how to, do the basic things you're not even thinking. If you ever go someplace and you go, how did I get here? It's because you weren't paying attention consciously because you were busy doing something else consciously. So what you
Hoping
find is that
it looks like it's coming back once
hey,
again.
you're sort of back. All right.
Not sure what the
Well,
issue
hopefully
is here. They've been working on the
I can hear you.
Wi-Fi, but like I said, we're in, so there may to be some things we do. We visit again. As always, please remember to find someone to help.